Lacrosse season is underway, and there's already a lot to talk about. Welcome back to another edition of Penn State Sports Night. I'm Jacob Charis alongside Tim Rogers and Lexy Leidlein. So, Tim, the men's team had a tough loss against Villanova on Saturday. It was a really close match, but what do you think the rest of this team is looking like so far?
I mean, it was a very tough loss, and it's kind of expected. You know, this is kind of a rebuilding year. First up, I do want to mention it was so great to see fans back at Panzer Stadium. Fans were going crazy. I love to see that. But it was a very tough loss. The final score was 13-12 in favor of Villanova, and it was one of those games where it's almost like Penn State kind of shot themselves in the foot a little bit. They clawed their way back, going down 8-3, kept scratching, clawing all the way back to tie it, and even take a lead at one point for 10-9. Then gets tied up, and with a minute and 24 seconds left, they get a face-off violation. I don't like the new face-off rules at all, but that cost them the game. And I think, look, when you have youth in this team, that's going to happen. You just need time to develop. The more games you play, the better, more comfortable they'll be. The thing is, for me, if this team wants to be successful, it's up to those upperclassmen. Jack Traynor had two great performances, both games getting 5 points, and my boy, Jack Kelly. And the reason I say he's my boy, we're LinkedIn connections now. If that doesn't mean we're boys, I don't know what does. So for him, he only had one goal in this previous game, and I think that did hurt the team. You need the team, those seniors, those upperclassmen, offensively and defensively, to really step up if this Penn State team wants to go far.
Now transitioning from the men's team to the women's team, Lexy, I'll take it to you. What's this team looking like so far?
You know, they had a rough end to their season last year, but they're looking really promising this year. They went 4-9 last season, but I don't think that shows how talented they actually were. They have Kristen O'Neill, who was Big Ten Freshman of the Year last year, and now she's on the Tewaaraton watch list, only as a sophomore. That's huge. They also have co-captains Mary Muldoon and Rachel Spilker coming back, as well as Erin Triandafils and Kate Love, two huge players on the team as well. And let's not forget, they have transfer from Virginia, Taylor Reagan, who they acquired in July of last year. I think will be big for the team. I think the biggest hit that they took was losing Olivia Dirks, to North Carolina, because she was one of those huge midfield attackers who would just push it to the goal constantly. So I think they look really promising despite losing Olivia Dirks.
Yeah, it'll be definitely interesting to see how the women's team kind of fills that hole with Dirks. And, you know, the men's team, like you said, it's a rebuilding year. Mac O'Keefe is gone. Grant Ament is gone. Two huge losses. And so I want to now take it back to Lexy. Overall, what's the big picture for both teams?
Like it's been said already, Penn State men's lacrosse is going through a rebuilding year. Losing Grant Ament was tough. Now losing Mac O'Keefe, Nick Cardile, Gerard Arceri, Dylan Folds, Colby Canese. That's tough. That's losing so many of your starters and now having to bring up many younger players that have to take on those huge roles. Those are big shoes to fill. I think that they're going to have a tough time in conference, you know, against teams like Maryland, against teams like Michigan. Those are going to be really difficult games. And starting off with a win against Lafayette was good, 20-15, but it should have been better. And losing to Villanova, an in-state rival, however, they're not that great of a team. They very much so could have won that game. There were silly mistakes, there were missed shots, there were lazy passes. I definitely think that the men's team is in a rebuilding year. Now, moving on to the women's team, like I said, they're going to have a great season. I have no doubt in my mind that they will go very far, especially with transfer Taylor Reagan, Kristen O'Neill, like I already mentioned. I think that the women's team and the two coaching additions that Missy Doherty added, I think that they're on a really great track, and they'll do really great this year as opposed to how they did last year. Their players will now reflect a better season.
Yeah, Lexi, I completely agree with you. I mean, having a Tewaaraton watch player already in their sophomore year is fantastic for that team. And for them to experience those type of tough losses last year, they were a very young team, and they still are. So for them to experience those tough losses, I think is really going to propel them for this year to make a push for the NCAA tournament. They are ranked right now in the preseason poll of 25. So I would like to see them, you know, climb the table a little bit. But for the men's team, it's not a bad thing to be in a rebuilding year. And I think a lot of people don't understand that. It's okay to have youth and have these guys start learning the system, learn what's new, and have the older guys like Jack Kelly and those to train them and teach them the system. I mean, Jeff Trambroni is a fantastic coach. We know he's won in multiple places. He's going to be able to do a fantastic job here at Penn State. And it's one of those things where it's okay to be having a rebuilding year. Do I think they can make a push? Sure, but it's going to take a lot for them, and they're going to have to experience a lot very quickly.
Yeah, there's certainly a lot to look forward to this season for 2022. So that will wrap it up of this edition of Penn State Sports Night. For Lexy, Leidlein, and Tim Rogers, I'm Jacob Charis, and have a good night.
Hey everybody, thank you for tuning into this edition of Penn State Sports Night. We hope you liked that segment.
And we're sure there's other Penn State Sports Night segments that you're going to love as well. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content.
And check us out on social media for updates and behind the scenes clips and pics. Follow us on Twitter at PSSN TV and on Instagram at PSU Sports Night to keep up with all the action.
For all of us here at the Belisari Media Center, we are
Penn State Sports Night.